going on, everybody? Welcome back to yet another episode of the AFC podcast, season 4. I got a very special guest today, Stephen Hall. You might recognize him from our previous podcast presentation of Fireland. He played the role of Oscar. And before that, we were talking about a show called Clark Is, one of my first projects that I wrote while I was in college, and that's how we met. He's a singer, and that's how it all began. And of course, I needed a guy for the role of Oscar. He stepped up, and he absolutely killed it. If you haven't listened to it yet, definitely check out Fireland. It's on our YouTube channel. We're probably going to get on Spotify soon, and of course, it's on Amazon Music. And we're going to talk a little bit more about Fireland. But first, I wanted to welcome Stephen Hall to the AFC podcast. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hey, what's going on, Phil? Thank you again for having me. Thank you for those who's out there listening and supporting all that good stuff. It's good to be here, man. I always love doing these things as far as the podcast, and just being able to support others who have the same ambitions and goals as far as the entertainment industry. And knowing I was working with Phil, I couldn't turn down the opportunity, and I couldn't turn down on the podcast interview as well. So again, thank you.
Yeah, here we are. And for those of you, this is your first time hearing about Fireland. We had a little bit of a taste of a conversation like 5 minutes ago, just to kind of catch up, see how we're both doing. And it's been a full year since we started the pre-production process of Fireland, and I'm just so far removed from that fact where it's like it feels like a week ago, not 52.
Yeah, man. Whew. Like we were saying before we got online, man. The days, the weeks, the months that just slam into this one day, and it just you don't really get a chance to smell the flowers nowadays. But now that we're sitting here, we got our whole dozen roses in front of us. There's nothing wrong with a little sniff here and there, you know?
Facts. And I can't believe it. I never got to even ask you, what'd you think of it though? When all is said and done, outside the creative process, would you just sit back and listen to it? How'd you feel?
Man, it came together amazingly. Every character, and seeing the characters work on their lines, work on their character's personality, and just seeing how it all came together to just be one ensemble was just fantastic. The work everyone did, our scene behind the scenes was just phenomenal. The work that came out of it with the mix and mastering once we got everything handled it appropriately, man. Awesome. I would do it again and again and again over and over again. This is the kind of things I just love to do, and I just see myself doing for the rest of my career. It was a really awesome experience because you just get to be able to get out of yourself, and I take acting very as a very therapeutic kind of thing. So it definitely was. It made things go by a little bit swifter for me outside of the acting gig. And as far as the actual post-production, I was so excited, looking forward to it. I almost lost a couple days sleep. I'm like, it's coming out soon. It's coming out soon. And when it finally did, I'm like, share it with everybody.
Yeah, I can't believe like it got released right on time. It got released on the 9/11 anniversary in 23. And from that, we actually turned a couple of heads where it was like, it got the attention of a couple of key players in like the FDNY, you know?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's all.
I never really got to, I wanted to actually have the author come on the podcast and talk last season, but of course things just kind of get like we lose track and we lose touch. But of course, like I talk to him all the time. We just didn't find like that one magical hour where we could just sit down and just have this conversation like we're having right now. But this past, I think it was March, we were episode 190 on the #1 FDNY podcast, the Getting Salty Experience in the world. And we got to just talk about his book, about this project, just about FDNY stories here and there. And I love that podcast. Those guys, they actually invited me and Chris to hang out with them now. Because every year they do sort of like, not like a fireman's picnic or anything like that, but they invite all the guests from the whole season to come hang out with them and cruise around the harbor in Manhattan on one of their like party yachts.
Oh man, that had to be an awesome experience too, I'm sure, because that's to get that invitation and congratulations on the placing as well. As far as the I believe you said 192.
Oof. I'm almost certain it was episode 190. Uh, yeah, I'm almost 100% sure. I'll plug that in the description if anybody wants to listen to that podcast. But I think we had like 4,000 and change people listening to that podcast, and like over 500 people listen to it live every week. So it's like I
Man,
got some good attention.
nah, that's great. That's fantastic. It's always good to get that kind of attention. Like I said, I always was willing to support in industry in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that we were able to knock that out and even get that attention from there, that's awesome.
I thought so. I thought it was awesome. It was a whole new concept. Like, I don't think a podcast presentation or a podcast play has really been done before, you know?
Oh yeah, and always whenever you're doing something different, it always attracts that attention that really just gravitates people. As you were saying, and as it's been doing, and different is not always bad. And just like we were talking about before we had got online, simplicity is complexity. That I always tell anyone that will listen to that simplicity is complexity because everyone always wants to be able to see someone enjoy themselves and have fun in what they're doing, whether it be theater, whether it be music, whether it be sports. Anyone who's doing what they love and you can see the excitement and the passion in them, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Well, since you brought up music, was that more or less your background?
Yes, I actually graduated from Hampton University with a Bachelor's of Science in Music Recording Technology with a voice emphasis, but I also did a theater minor as well. Hence the whole correlation between the music and the theater, because I do have dreams, goals, and ambitions of going into the not only the music industry but also into acting and voice acting as well.
Right.
And I wanted to see both sides of the coin.
And where are you based out of right now?
Based at in Chesapeake Beach, Maryland, and Calvert County, Maryland. To give more of a pinpoint, because it's not really a well-known area.
Sure.
It's about like 25, maybe 30 minutes away from Prince George's County, Maryland. So it's like kind of deep in the south, right on the water by the Chesapeake Bay.
When my dad took us fishing in Chesapeake Bay, I think, and I want to say like 98 or 99, summer of 98 or 99, when we went on like a family vacation right in the Chesapeake Bay area. So I probably came to your, at least your county.
That's awesome, man. And it's crazy how that time worked because I was actually born in 96.
Oh my God. Oh my God. No, like if there's any campgrounds, it's just like he's 2 years old and I'm like I was what 10, 11 years old at the time. It's like, yep, he doesn't know it yet, but we're gonna be hanging out in 20 years.
Hey man, you never know how things turn out and how things correlate so closely. Because we said 90, I said 98. That's crazy. And then they kind of
You ever see those like little like coincidence things on TikTok, like where they're going through old photos, but like they were kids and they actually met their spouse and they crossed paths at some random place, like on a vacation or something like that. I've been seeing these weird coincidence on TikTok where you have spouses who actually cross paths when they were like 3, 5, 6 years old on vacation. They met and then they get married and didn't even know each other until like 20, 30 years later.
I if I see it, that's one of those TikToks I definitely like. I can't skip over. I'm like, this is awesome because I attempted that because I used to live in Hawaii actually, and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna graduate high school. I'm gonna
Okay.
go to Hawaii. I'm gonna see that one friend, and then everything's gonna be magic, flowers and rainbows, and but you know, life happens, and you know things. Yeah, you come up short.
Well, I'm not going to just run past that fact real quick. So hold on. Yeah, hold on. Wait. This is a fun fact. I didn't know this about you, man. So wait a minute. You were born in Maryland and you had lived in Hawaii for a time and now you're back?
I actually, and this is gonna blow your mind even more. I was born.
Like, go for it. Talk to me, baby. What's up?
I was born and raised in Duval County, Jacksonville, Florida, and my dad was actually out at sea at the time in the Navy for about 3 or 4 years. and then we moved to Hawaii, and then we moved to Prince George's County, and then we moved to Andrews Air Force Base, then to where I'm at now. So I was a little all over the place, a little Navy brat.
Oh, all righty. So military brat baby. Got it.
Hmm. Whenever I say any of these stories, I bring up like location like Hawaii, same exact reaction. It's like, wait, hold on, you
Well,
can't
I
just.
mean, there's a lot of speculation about the legitimacy of our 49th state right now, and it's like, wait, and it's like when I hear Hawaii, I'm just like, we really, that's its own country, right? Like we just didn't actually like what are we doing right now? And I got a big heart and I got a conscience, so I'm like, time out, time out. You mean to tell me like generational curses are happening right now because we collectively, before I was even born, we're inheriting stolen property, and now they're calling out on it. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
God's gonna be like, what do you expect? And now we know this, and we got to do the right thing. Like we're not I don't personally like, not to get off base. It's like we're not less of a people by doing anything that represents restoration in any way, shape, or form. I think that makes us a better people. You know,
Absolutely.
that's just
Absolutely.
me.
And it's crazy. I was just thinking about Hawaii the other day because I was talking to somebody. I was like, yeah, Hawaii this, da 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 da. And I'm thinking to myself, like, huh. I know they recently were talking about they don't want their little too many visitors nowadays. So I'm like, isn't Hawaii its own little, like you say, country? It's just out there by itself, and in the United States. I'm like, I don't know. It's that seems like a deep dive into a pretty interesting intellectual conversation, you know?
Well, I mean, I think that like we're kind of oblivious to how things are, I think sometimes. And the one way we actually get to bridge those gaps of understanding is through movies, through podcasting, and sharing our knowledge with one another. Because I gotta say, like, what is it called? Like oh my God, ignorance is bliss, something like that. That can't be right.
Yep.
Is it?
That's mhm.
Is that how it goes? Ignorance is bliss?
Ignorance is bliss.
Oh my
Be-
God.
mhm.
I always thought bliss was really more of this beneficial term, like you want to live in bliss. It isn't. Like you are like when I actually kind of like not even really think about it, it's like how ignorant am I on what it is that I actually do not know? What is the absolute truth? And I strive for truth. I want to know what the truth of the matter actually is.
Mhm.
Because honestly, like I don't want to, like I personally don't want to be ignorant, and bliss just kind of seems like this nirvana experience, But we're just kind of just we got the horse blinders on. How we're supposed to live that way?
Exactly. And the horse blindness is a perfect analogy that you had brought up. And to live that way, some people I can understand, and because everyone has their situation is different. Some people can be able to adapt and get out there, but some people just cannot. Which again, some people are in situations they can't really help where they have to do that. When some people just aren't suitable to many things because they might just be in situations where they only went to been to where they born at, and that's it. Which I get. I keep an open mind when it comes to those kind of things, but ignorance is bliss. It has its blessings and its afflictions, you know.
Sure. That sucks. Honestly, I do, like no, it really does. I feel like it's such an oppressive way to live, and people are, comfortable. I get it to your point, wherever they're from, whatever they do, they just don't want to like, walk off the path or explore, try new places and figure out like what's the point of being alive? Like whose idea was this? You know? Like what
Mm.
else is out there?
And it's hard to really find that out if you're one phrase I'm recently coining and I'm keeping in my pocket lately is you got to roll the dice to get a slice. And that I hate to really go off of a rapper quote, but that's actually from Nipsey Hussle, and it's absolutely correct because even now I recently just did the Barber John competition in 2024 in Baltimore. I was able to do a competition completely out of my element. In this case, ignorance was bliss. In my case, because I was doing modeling, acting, and then the whole singer thing. but they mainly wanted me to do the model walk. I've never modeled a day in my life until that last week.
So you had to do the catwalk. They just threw you out there and said strut.
Yeah, they taught me on the workshop the day before on a Saturday, and then the actual competition was Sunday. I was like, you know what?
Oh,
I'll use what I have and then just put my best foot forward. And people see that and see that I still have confidence. Okay, I'm pretty sure what people are starting to look for, especially in the entertainment industry, because you're gonna put someone that's confident in front of a camera, they're gonna make something happen. Yeah, they might have made a mistake, but who's gonna know except them? But you put
sure.
someone who's confident in front of the camera, well, that's just like singing bad notes in front of a mic. That's just gonna amplify everything.
Well, what was that experience like? You have any takeaways from doing the walk?
Um, Believe it or not, even like I said, with my music and my acting background, I felt a whole lot more comfortable doing the model walk than I had doing a 15-second commercial.
Okay.
Even in learning it, the whole goal of doing the model walk is to show your confidence. And if you already coming with that attitude and that mindset, it's almost like forget what everyone else is going on. Those horse blinders are a blessing in this case, because it's just like, you know what, for this, I'm focusing on that camera, because that camera is going to be everything that everyone wants. They want to see what my eyes look like. They want to see how I move. They want to see how I do this. They want to see how I do that. Whether it's because of good things, or even just people just, you know how the internet is, and people just want to have something to talk about. At the end of the day, walking away from that, I was a whole lot confident in myself. Not that I had the confidence before, but I was a whole lot more confidence with myself. And he was able to walk away with 3 callbacks from 3 different agencies, because they had like 50 different like agencies out there for like models, TV commercials, film and TV, what have you. When I heard about it, I was like, you know what? It's like Biggie Smalls used to say, all these songs you got to like one, but all these companies, in this case, one has to like me. So I
Sure.
just came in with that attitude, and I just was able to come up on top.
Get it. All right, man. So what could now possibly happen as a result of that? You want to keep doing it, or you want to like build up a brand, or like you feel like there's got to be different types of like print work, commercial work that maybe that could get you off the stage, but do something more still, you know?
Absolutely, and I'm actually glad you asked that question, because this is a question I love to answer, and a question I just love to talk about. Because right now, in lieu of that, I actually have eyes on a social media manager. And since the agencies they're offering an agent, okay, I'm like, okay, cool, that's perfect. I already have an entertainment lawyer. I already have eyes on social media managers. But even after talking to just one company, they said, "Oh, okay, we didn't know you could sing, because in the competition, I wasn't going to go for singing, and I asked for it if I could fill in one of the positions, but they already did their searching for their singers, and they already had their list of people." So I'm like, okay, I take what I can get, and I'll make some gold out of it. I'll make gold out of coal. But in that, they now want to see if they can give me an agent, someone to make me another website, and a social media manager, because they say, okay, since you sing, give us your stuff and we'll see how we can market and promote you. Because my main goal, my dream goal, in fact, is to be able to perform at the Super Bowl as a headliner. Your Ushers, your Prince, your Janet Jacksons, your Beyonce, so on and so forth. That's the goal. So with the modeling, it still does have a somewhat of an influence, because to be able to go on that kind of stage where pretty much, in my eyes, the whole country's watched, because it's the Super Bowl, it's the halftime Super Bowl show. So everybody's going to be all eyes on me in this case. So modeling definitely still has the aspect on it, because my biggest fear once I do get to that goal is I don't want to be, and bless their heart, but in this reference, Lady Gaga or 50 Cent, where they had a little more baggage carrying with them.
Come on, man, don't sell yourself short. I mean, like she won the Oscar, you know? I mean, there's no wrong door to enter, you know?
Absolutely. And to your point, hey, she got the Oscar. I don't, right? But time will tell. And Rome won't build it.
Honestly, yeah, I think for anybody listening, like you gotta, there's one thing you got to understand because like Steve, I walked that road too. I covered a lot of territory in so many different mediums in the industry, and from all of that to just kind of look back, being the chairman of the board, president, whatever you want to say, like I'm still Phil at the end of the day,
Mhm.
all of these, all of these, I guess you could call them experiences. There's there like I want to articulate this the right way, but there's no such thing in this where there's a loss. There's a lesson in everything. And all of those things are going to be contributing to your attributes that are going to carry you. And there's going to be a lot of trade-offs along the way because there's a lot of things that you're just not going to need. And I, I know in the Bible it said somewhere about like shedding your skin or your snake skin or just like the way you have to let go or grow the old self. But that when you're growing, there are different things about you that were necessary at the time, but there's a lot of things that you don't need to focus on anymore. You already covered that. Now's the time to grow and actually increase your skill set and try new things. Like the only the example I was trying to lead, I guess I could say, is like from covering all that, is that all of those things are going to carry you towards more or less, quote unquote, your destiny. And I think from all that experience in acting and everything that I had, I think it was creating the experience and the knowledge and the wisdom it takes to actually become a president of an organization, to become a parent, to become a dad, to become a mom. All of those things take time to develop. And I think that's just literally like what I wanted to say because I think I did have a question, but I just forgot it. Now I'm kind of rambling. Uh, you know what I mean? No, I had a point. Now I just forgot I had my point. Where there's no bad way of I'm going to be listening to this podcast and then I'm going to remember exactly what I wanted to say and how I wanted to close because it was such a it really was a good point. Because you reminded me, because I know what it's like to actually do the catwalk, to find to walk right into a scam and learn a lesson that way on who's actually a photographer and who's not, how to sign up for the right type of agent and how not to sign up for an agent. All these little things that I learned along the way. Granted, I avoided modeling like the plague ever since, but I did. And it's like, what am I good at? I don't know. Just focus on anything else but that.
No, I completely understand what you're saying. I want to get back to a point that caught my ear, caught my attention. When you said there's no losing, it's more like learning lessons as you go. That's
No
actually
losses, only lessons.
exactly. That's actually one of the core things that I stand on with as far as like my standards, morals, and values. I tell people all the time. I said I don't lose. And a lot of people can take that as like, oh, he's arrogant or he's this, he's that. No, that's not the case at all. I believe in W's and L's just like anyone else does. But in my case, the W stands for win and the L stands for lesson because there's no loss because this loss that people think that is a loss, you're just taking that and you're going to reflect on it as you whether you want it to or not because you're just going to have that feeling like man I could have been this or this person could didn't have this but I feel like I had this but you know how you just ponder as with us being having it's human nature.
Yeah.
You learn more from that loss because you see where you fell short in each moment.
Mhm.
So that's more of a learning than it is a loss in that case because a winner it's hard to be a winner and here's why I say that. It's easy to get that number one spot. It's harder to maintain it
Okay.
because when you're losing in this case in this industry, we both know it can be a cutthroat industry, the entertainment industry. But if you don't put yourself in the mindset where I'm always continually learning, and even outside this industry, in life in general, where you always have to put yourself in the mindset, well, I always got to learn something because with the young folks talking with the more elderly, there's something that both parties can take with them. The old school can bring to the new school can bring to the old school. But in this case, when you're learning, getting back to the point, you'll never lose because you'll always be able to find that thing, that trigger point where, oh, I fell short in this moment a couple years ago, but this is what I'm going to do this time. It's almost like that whole line when Rafiki was teaching Mufasa
Oh,
about the
it doesn't
S.
matter. It's in the past.
There you go. And
Yeah.
he didn't get hit by that staff again.
You either run from it or you learn from it. Game of whack fuck here. Whack. No, like it kind of just reminded me that like of an old saying. It's like, hey, you're lost, pal. Like you ever hear that and just in context where it's like it's an opportunity wasted?
Mm. You opened my mind on that one actually, because something so simple, the simple things we pass up, but when we sit down and reflect on like we're doing now, it's just like, huh, yeah, that is the case. And it has like that deeper meaning. It's like, okay. And this is why I always love intellectual conversations because you find stuff behind that curtain. It could just be like, oh, there it was, right there. If it was a
Yeah.
snake,
Oh, and that's why I always look down.
this is great, man.
I appreciate you identified this as an intellectual conversation.
Oh, I always look forward to this. It doesn't matter home, and I'm in a great mood because I've actually just left work from having an intellectual conversation with people, my coworkers. 'Cause I have a hard time when it comes to work. When I'm in work, I'm in go mode. I'm like, forget everybody else. I'm here to do my job and make sure I don't get the boot. But then having experience from like with my coworkers and we're chatting it up and there's no like, all right, if you stay here too long, you're gonna get suspended or whatever the case may be, whatever people do nowadays when in their workplace. It's always a good sense of belonging with intellectual conversation because you always learn something.
Sure. Do you kind of feel like I think I want to actually just I don't want to like I think I want to circle back real quick on how you got to this point in your life real quick because like you went to a really what it sounded like a notable school and you really made a commitment to this. And I guess my curiosity is, with family in the military, you saw the world a little bit. You got a taste of different cities, cultures. I can't even imagine how good the food might have been each and every, you know what I mean? So what was it about like, or what was it that kind of maybe brought this to life where you wanted to be more in the performance arts?
It all started for me my senior year in high school, believe it or not. My senior year in high school, I had some friends that I ended up associating with, and they're more the theater side of things. I'm like, oh, okay, these guys seem cool. I'm gonna hang out with them, do this, that, and the third, and it became something where like, hey guys, we're bored. Someone wrote up their own little play, and it's like, hey, let's do a recording of this play. We'll put it out there. And from then, I was like, you know what? I got bit by the theater bug from then, and I followed up on it in college. I was like, you know what? I'll try one play. If I like it, I'll stick with it. If I don't, we'll just leave it at that. And then, well, to this day, I stuck with it. And even specifically going to Astoria's Filmmaker Club, I was like, you know what? It's always good to have your foot in the door rather than to stand outside the door waiting for somebody to open it up.
Sure.
And with the Astoria Filmmakers Club, I enjoyed it because I'm doing something I love at the end of the day. It doesn't have to be um, something that's indie. It doesn't have to be something that's major. It doesn't have to be something that's, okay, we're doing this and we're just starting off. It's still the love of the theater that I'm looking for in the experience because it's always going to be somebody in the room that's going to be no more than me, that's going to be stronger than me, that might look better than me, whatever the case you have it. But I always want to have that mindset, like we said before, there's winning and learning.
Yeah.
I always want to be able to have that learning mindset, and people when I come in the room, people will know Steve will be able to handle it, and we ain't got to do extra X, Y, and Z.
Did you ever have a moment where it just clicked for you or saying this is like the turning point where this is what I got to do? Not what I want to do, but I have to do this.
Last year,
All right.
that
Walk me through it. What happened?
last year, that was more of a situation where I had kind of found myself in a position in my household where I was taking more of the mantle in the frontal position, for lack of better terminology. And then in that, I had to be able to adjust here in the house. I had to be able to adjust individually, and I had to be able to adjust as far as even work. Because now that I recognize the situation that I'm in, I'm like, okay, in order to help out here at home with my mom and everything, and in order to still be able to go after my career, I got to put a lot of fire into myself. I got to be able to say, hey, even at one point, I was like, hey, you got to do a song a day. You got to write play a day. You got to do something that's going to be going towards your goal in your career. Because the way the technology is nowadays, someone can easily go on one of these phones and they can make the song today, and it'll be just as good as the song. And it's
Yeah.
the same thing when it comes to acting as well. Hence the podcast plays. So the way I see it, I don't want to make it seem like, okay, the world is going 1,000 miles per hour and I'm just stuck here at 5. I understand what the concepts that we have. It can either hinder you or it can help you. And I don't want to rush into it. And just like I was saying before, Rome wasn't built in a day. I just want to be able to put myself in that mindset, because once people make it, they're more in that fragile state, or their feelings and emotions, everything is got hardened, but in a good way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I think I heard like I don't remember the actor's name, but he was in A Fish Called Wanda. He played the attorney, but he was very well known for all of his work with like the Monty Python group. Just like a funny guy. He was a butler dude. Um, you would know him in a heartbeat. I'll look him up when it's your turn to talk. But he
Mm-hmm.
he made a statement not too long ago on like what creativity is, where it comes from, how you utilize it, where your IQ has absolutely no influence or bearings on creativity. It's got nothing to do with that. So it was a curious thing, and he made a very good speech. And I remember seeing it on Instagram one time. I got to look that up again. And what he actually really said was the defining trait that makes creativity what it actually is or ought to be, like in its absolute form. It's got nothing to do with the person or about them. It has everything to do with their environment and their space. That's where creativity will come. And I really believe that because I remember doing a bunch of plays where I knew I was in a theater, but I took that into account. But I also remember feeling a shift where I literally let the entire set and the entire scenery just change me entirely. And I remember feeling that, and it was really bizarre. It was not outer body experience, but it was just bizarre. It was it was unusual for me because I don't miss a single detail. I grew up a very anxious kid. I had zero creativity unless I was, I don't know, just around other creative people. And then I would just feel that shift. And that might have been the defining thing for me. I never really ever spoke about this before. I don't think, at least not on the podcast or that I can remember. But I couldn't agree more how your behavior truly changes. It's rooted in the environment you're actually in. And to hear you talk about that little shift that you had to kind of go through a year ago, like I could totally relate where even as a man, there is a balance of being a contributor to your environment as well as a creative creator within the environment. There's a very fine line that you have to balance, and you need both. Because I know exactly what it's like to be stagnant. You lose all function and mobility and creativity. You bog down. I don't know if you remember, but a year ago, I was really having a hard time finishing Fireland. There were so many things that I knew that this is the scene has to be, but nothing could really click or make sense. And I just had to, I guess, really ask, did you ever feel like maybe there were ever times that you had a hurdle or an obstacle you had to overcome because you couldn't quite get that creative flow going?
Yes, and what I'm learning as well as I'm going, that hurdles have different shapes, forms, and fashion that they come with. Because when you think of hurdle, you think, okay, I'm gonna use music as an example. I can't be able to record this song because I don't know how to mix and master. And you think, okay, that's the hurdle that I need to look out for. Great, let me keep running this race. My hurdles were actually people, and it stemmed from people that were are legitimately, if I can speak,
Right.
on my frat brothers, and they would use that term brother right there. Um, unresourcefully. That's the nicest way I could put it.
All right.
And I find myself in situations where I'm like, hey, I did this for you, dude. You said you would do this in return. It doesn't happen. And I think keep going back and forth to the point where I get tired. I'm get tired of getting tired or getting tired of going back and forth. So I'm just like, you know what? That's not a betterment in my environment. And everything he's done before that reflects upon it as well. So it's one of those things where you don't really nitpick on every little single thing someone's doing, whether bad or good, but just let it collect up to a point where you'd be like, all right, you've been doing this. And I'm going to call you out about it respectfully. Depending on how you respond is how I'm going to move forward. That happened with one of my frat brothers. It happened with my own boss because in last year, well, it happened with my father as well, because last year in June, my father left the house to go down to South Carolina, and I lost my job in the same week.
Oh,
Those were like hard hitters for me. But then having that time to reflect upon that, yeah, there's a lot of things to reflect upon. Is different things that are separate from one another. But once I got that time to reflect and be like, this is just who this person is. This is just who this person is. Even to my own father, I'm like, okay, this is my own father doing it. I know anyone else who's not even related to me was going to be like this. So I keep myself in a mindset where I'm always protecting myself, my business self and my personal self, because some people, even in that, saying that, can't even separate personal and business.
sure.
But in those hurdles, those were the main ones as far as the people I was working with, people that I work with in the nonprofits that stuck in their own ways, for lack of better terminology. And it's just noticing, hey, I'm in this zone, but I can get out. It's almost like when you read a bad book and you realize, man, this book is bad. And then you think to yourself, I don't have to finish this book if I don't like it. I'm like, okay, having that mindset and seeing that, reflect upon that, and understanding, hey, if I come across it again, that's just what I have to do. And I've been able to do that with others when I see the best see it necessary to be, if that makes sense.
I'm with you. So you ever think like maybe really do you ever use the word accountability or being held accountable throughout your days?
Yes. And accountability and communication are the main things I seem to be leaning towards the most. Because even when it comes to I'm use this reference because I'm actually the president of a chapter of one of my fraternities. It's an alumni chapter, and I had to speak with a gentleman about his communication issues on the business side of the chapter. Now, to give you a perspective, I'm 27. This other gentleman is in his mid to late 40s, maybe even 50s. I had to
Okay.
sit him down and let him know. I'm like, hey, we need to be able to handle this business, but you have to be able to separate personal and business. I say that, but I don't want to be a hypocrite and say, and when I say this as well, whatever you're going through in your personal situation, I don't know. I don't want to disclose this gentleman's information, of course.
No, no, no.
Um, whatever you're going through personally, yeah, I don't have to know everything about your personal situations, but I want to know some degree so I can know, hey, when I give you this work, it'll be handled instead of, oh, okay, I'm gonna give him this work even though he's going through whatever he may be going through. It doesn't become effective when it comes to personal or business, if that's the case,
Yeah.
because you can still business, but you can still incorporate that into how you push forward in your business, or in this case, in your chapter. But I tell people all the time when it comes to personal and business, it can get hard, but it can be easy because when you look at someone's personal life, it's not going to be too far from their business life.
No. No, I could tell, like the second you said like he's a little bit older than I am. I I can't even imagine the battles that I have yet to face just from as you get older, you get wiser, you get tired, you know?
And that's a main point right there. Tired is a big word nowadays because I just had this conversation with one of my friends last night. Actually, I was just telling him, I said, man, I remember coming out of college and I had hopes and dreams to this guy, and I just want to be help out everybody. But reflecting on myself now, I was telling him, I said, hey man, it's going to come to a time in life where you feel that way, but you also have to understand that some people can't be helped because they don't want it. So it changed from I want to be able to help everybody to I want to be able to help those who want to be helped.
Sure.
Because you want to give the good will the oil. You want to give the squeaky wheel the oil.
I
And for
mean,
those,
go ahead.
go,
I'm gonna no, I want you to finish because I'm right there with you. I'm like I'm hearing you. Go ahead.
because for those who are coachable, who can teach, because being coachable, yes, that's important, but someone who can be able to teach is also important as well. And when I say teach, I mean teach anybody and any who may come to your door, because that's teaching is one of the things I believe is lost art, because when you teach somebody, the teacher has to understand that people learn different. And a lot of old school teachers, I believe, had that problem. I had a professor that had that problem before, because the way he would grade papers, he had the same grading format since 2010, and I was in school at the time for like 2018 to 20 dealing with him. I'm like, come on, man, the thing that worked yesterday ain't gonna work today.
Yeah. No, that's something, man. Kind of. I forgot. I lost my train of thought what I wanted to say before because you kind of like tied it all together and I just felt like I didn't have to ask that question anymore. But to your point, teaching really is a lost art, and kind of made me think of a lot of things because I did think about education, teaching, and what a teacher actually is. And I know that there were like five very specific fruits of the spirit where being a teacher is one of them. Like that's your gift, that you're endowed by God Himself with that thing. But another one of those specific things is encouragement. Somebody who could actually encourage you. And
Mm,
I think both of those, being a teacher and an encourager, they're bridged and connected by this one thing, and I think that's actually from experience. And I think from experience, it also lends wisdom. And like you could be a motivational speaker, you could be a cheerleader. That's not encouragement. No, that's not encouragement. No, it can't be. That cannot be the defining thing that makes it like, a spiritual gift. I think being a teacher as well as an courage Mandalorian person or an encouraged Mandalorian is is somebody who's actually been through that shit where they have that wisdom and they have that experience and it kind of just makes me like curious, not to like pry, but it's like when you had this conversation with this one individual who was older than you, did you ever ask yourself if there was something that maybe they knew that you did not know in order to actually maybe strengthen your leadership skills in some way, shape, or form based on
um,
his age, and that experience?
that's a really good question. Um, in the talk that we have, because I'm a firm believer, before I even get to the point, I'm a firm believer. If I have a problem with somebody, I'm man enough to talk to him or her. And I feel, and that's why I say communication and accountability is one of the more key things that I'm focusing on when it comes to my standards, morals, and values, because I think that's one thing we fall short as a people, as human people, it's communication, because some people it's like, oh, I have a problem with you, I'm just going to stop talking with you altogether. That's not going to solve anything, because what if you're sitting right next to the person in class, you need
Yeah,
a pencil, and you're stuck in your ways because, oh, he did this, so I'm not going to talk to him. No, I'm going to communicate. I'm going to be like, I have a problem with you because you did this. And when I did that to the older gentleman, I was able to tell him, just like I said before, I'm not gonna nitpick in every little single thing. Oh, you did that thing I don't like. Fix it. I'm not that guy. I just let the list accumulate, so to speak, and I brought to attention. I said, "Hey, man, I noticed that you can't take criticism because you had this incident happen in the chat and everybody could see it. So it's not one of those things where like, oh, it didn't happen. No, it's in the chat and everybody can see it." And I let them know. I said, "You got to realize, social media is a blessing and a curse. And nowadays, whatever you put out there, even if it's on Messenger, it's out there forever."
Sure.
And then with me working in IV and I see the arguments, well, oh, I can just unsend the message. You can follow people's IP address and you can see people and what they're doing on their laptop. If I'm going to keep full transparency, um, going to the next point with him, which is to answer your, it's going to answer your question here. When I told him, I said there's a failure of communication and acknowledgement because I was with my mom always said, if I send you a message, at least respond with an okay or hey or go to hell. I'm like, I understand now because that's a bare minimum at my own workplace at my job now. Because if you don't announce the message, how's the other person supposed to know if you received it or not, or if it went to junk? When I brought this to attention, he's like, "Oh, you don't hear me talking about how it's you've been a failure as a person." I said, "I'm glad you brought that up because if you're not telling me where I fall short as a president, how do I improve as a president of the chapter, and how do I improve as a leader? Because if that's the case, you're doing me a disservice."
Yeah.
So it kind of just like communication. We were talking about communication and accountability. That's where it starts to tie together because now when you come, someone's trying to come for you, it actually just comes up and ends up turning around on them because it's a very simple question. Well, why didn't you bring that to my attention? It's just giving people that accountability because I have no problem. Hey, I planned this event. That was the day before, and no one got until 2 hours before the event. I'll take that to the chin every time. I'd rather sit here and tell you like, yeah, I fucked up, rather than hey, look at me, I got 1,000 followers or 100 million views on live stream. No, people want to see you. How can I word this correctly? People want to see you fail and see that you learn from it,
Okay.
and that's where the accountability is at its peak when it comes to for me. Because if you can be able to get in front of a camera and know you messed up and still learn from it, i.e., who's the actor that played Iron Man in Marvel? Robert Downey Jr. was in jail before he got that Iron Man role.
A while too. Like he that guy was in it. Him and there was another guy. I forget. It's not Tim Allen, who's Buzz Lightyear.
Yep.
They both had the corrections had to be made, for both their sake.
And then the questions were made, and look where they're at now.
I think. What do you think what do you think? What do you think it was? They made a decision, they learned their lesson, or was there something where they just had to make a personal choice, then reality kind of set in?
That's a really good question because any of those will be good, but one I would probably from would be from they learned their lesson because you can still move on and you can still be able to get to where the levels they're at, and you can still not have that accountability because one thing about learn lessons, God will keep giving you the same lesson until you actually learn it, and even when you learn it, maybe 15 years down the road, it'll be the same lesson to see if you learn it. And I am a little bit religious. I don't want to go too far into it just so I don't offend too many people who might be listening. But I was just talking with my friend yesterday as well. It's very simple, but yet profound. I said, friend, when it comes to the Lord's disciples, all of them are sinners. And I just kept at that because if everyone puts the Lord and his disciples on the highest regard, but people still seem to forget that all the disciples are sinners, which the Lord really means come as you are.
Come as you are, yeah.
So that's how I feel in regards to the whole learn your lesson, being able to make that change. Because I believe in making a change because you never know who's in their corner, whether it be family, friends, but like, hey, you got to get your stuff together, or you yourself get tired of your own BS.
Embark on your unique financial journey with Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. Your aspirations, your milestones. We're committed to guiding you every step of the way. Whether you're saving for a dream home, planning for retirement, or seeking to consolidate debt, trust MHV to provide personalized solutions tailored to your needs. Our comprehensive range of products and services, coupled with expert financial advice, empowers you to make informed decisions and achieve your goals. Visit us online at mhvfcu.com to discover the tools and resources available to help you navigate your financial landscape with confidence and clarity. Your journey starts here.
That's an interesting point. Like, it'll be the same lesson consecutively until you actually you learn from it. Oh man, no, that makes a I go through personal things all the time, and I learn the hard way, and it takes me a long time. I go through things 2.5, 3, 4, 5 times until it sinks in, and it becomes like, okay, I get it. And you made a good point. That all disciples are sinners as well. And it kind of levels the playing field where it's like you have a choice where you actually implement things into your life or you don't. But the lesson isn't learned until the outcome is different.
Mm-hmm. And then even after that fact, going piggybacking off of the 15-year notion, the Lord might do the same thing. But 15 years later, you might have a kid, you might have 2 kids, you might have 3 kids, whatever the case may be. He might put you in a situation so you can be able to show your children, hey, this is how you're supposed to operate with this, and then be able to teach them that. Because the Lord, I tell people all the time, even today, I said the Lord has a hilarious sense of humor.
Yep. No, don't I know it?
Oh man, because it's crazy. Because I can go in a whole rabbit hole on that alone, honestly.
Well, I think that's where it's in our best interest when you actually have different people in your amongst your peers where they're actually different age brackets. They have a completely different they have a better understanding and perspective where it almost seems like situations and circumstances are repetitive because everybody learns the same lessons in some way, shape, or form. But like to your point, whether it's through father-son or children relationship, that's the wisdom and the experience I was referring to earlier because now it's like you are now in a position where you are the teacher because you have walked that path before, and you are also the encourager because you could navigate someone through wisdom how to actually overcome this, and this. Granted, the person or kid or whatever, they're going to have to go through it, but if they see you still standing, that's the difference, is because they know they could get there.
Absolutely. Absolutely, and even a good comparison. I was just telling my mom the other day because she's getting some fitness. I said, you got to realize when you get tired, the person who has the 12 pack, who's just jacked, who's at the gym, who's picking up the whole gym, they're the same amount of tired that you are when you get tired because they work themselves up to that limit, and then once they realize they reach that limit, all right, okay, this is the limit. I want to get better. I want to be better than I was yesterday. Only way you can do that is to break your limit.
Yeah.
And to break your limit, you got to be able to recognize your limit.
That's part of it. You got to know your boundaries. Every man, a wise man knows his limits. Haven't heard that scripture in many years. A wise man does know his limits, but you never know until you actually push him. You got to find him. You got to know it.
That's where that push, that drive comes from, because it reminds me of a talk I had with the same friend that I was telling you these profound quotes with. when it comes to how our parents raised us, and we always have that question, why didn't he tell us? Why did my mom tell me this? Why did my dad tell me that? But then I had asked them the same question. Well, how would you tell your child that? How would you tell your child, hey, you might want to go through this because this is going to happen? If you tell them that, they're going to be thinking about it, and it's just going to be like, oh, well, the mistake they could have made is worse than what they what would have happened if you didn't tell them. Does that make sense?
I understand. Yeah.
So when it comes to stuff like that, I always have that mindset. I always try to keep my mind open because my closed mind is limited, and I don't like really limiting myself as far as anything, as far as options, past people I talk to. I'm the type of person I don't let. If one person is at a party, I'm not going to not go because he's there, because now he or she controls me.
I get the reference. Yeah, no, you can't like I think that kind of ties into forgiveness a little bit, you know, like situations
Mm-hmm.
change, people change, and to tie into what you were saying before, like there's got to be open line of communication, and either you could like move away or move on, but without that, I guess that call it confrontation, I guess you could say, then you're both like you're stagnant.
And stagnant bothers me. It
I
bothers.
mean, that's where you become closed-minded is when you're stagnant, right there. Like there's no other path but through it. You can't go around it, you can't avoid it. There's no other way.
That's why I find myself in a zone where I always tell people I'll try something at least once because and it comes from when I had a talk with my uncle Red. um he would say when new people will come, because he's a mechanic, when
Mhm.
new people come in, I teach them how on the ropes and everything. I'll listen to what they say. I might do that one thing my way, but I listen to their way. If it's more efficient and quicker, or it could be something used in the future to be more efficient and quicker. Okay, we can do that moving forward. But if it's not, okay, now that we tried your way, let's go ahead and try my way. And that's still the rules of communication still. And even laying out something like that, you it's lets one know that you can still communicate with somebody without verbally talking with them, because you know how people have like code or these cues people use, well, mainly between brothers, best friend, what have you. Communication is key at the end of the day, and
Yeah.
and that's what basically when it comes from what my uncle Ray was saying in a profound way, because I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm pretty sure you hear it in my voice, I'm very country. And when it comes to country sayings, there's never going to be a short amount of them when it comes to that. And seeing that and then different layers to it, or the double entendre or triple entendre in it, it's fascinating because it means it's two or three different ways to learn now and off of one phrase.
Do you have an example of somebody who ever said something like that?
When it comes to even using that quote, you try your way and I'll try my way. It can be the same thing. You can use that theory, that reference, what have you, in music. Okay, we try recording it this way, we're gonna do it my way. Okay, we can do the same thing in teaching. We try teaching it this way, we're gonna try doing it my way. And in that way, in teaching specifically, just like we talked about before, everyone learns different.
Yeah.
So it'll mainly be in those different things. It's almost like, for example, if I knew you liked playing spades, I would make a spade reference to something that so you can be able to correlate that to, and it will still be able to carry on in different forms, fashions, and scenarios. And you can still be able, anyone could still be able to grow from, whether it's the person I'm saying it to or even myself, because I'm gonna show my Disney side. In learning, you will teach, and in teaching, you will learn.
You just quoted Phil Collins.
Yes, I did.
Yeah, buddy. Find your place beside the ones you love. Yeah. Oh my God, you're not sneaking that past me, brothers, man. I'm telling you right now. Nah.
Phil Collins, he's that guy. To this day, I don't know what he was thinking in that studio, but man, I'm glad he did what he did in that studio, because that whole soundtrack, man,
that set the tone for like my tweens, because I think what Tarzan came out, I want to say 1997, and I'm 10 years old. I just hit double digits, and I got 3 years before being a teenager. So right there, I got a 3 year time frame, and already like I'm the only Phil like I know, other than my dad. And then you hear a guy like Phil Collins, and that honestly, that soundtrack, excuse me, really turned me on to like being as like to get into singing as well.
Hmm. Oh, because man, that was actually one of my first Disney movies I saw. It was Tarzan and Lilo and Stitch, and whew, Lilo
No,
and Stitch soundtrack, that Presley centric soundtrack. I'm like, they whoever was producing that, they knew exactly what they're doing. And that's something. That's when, even looking back now, I'm like, man, maybe that's when I fell in love with music right there. Phil Collins and um, I think Elton John did Lion King, right?
Elton John, he did do Lion King. There was a collaboration with a couple other composers on that. I'm seeing a lot on TikTok recently on the documentaries of like not the golden age of Disney, because I don't think it was referred to as that, but for us, our generation, compared to the dynamics of what these kids are eating, which is just I don't even want to get into that. I'm sorry. It's so off. It is so beyond off brand where it's like it doesn't even deserve the name Disney because it is not. It just isn't. It's like it's a complete camouflage and a ruse and just like it's sad. It is so
Yeah.
sad. But that entire time frame, somewhere around I want to say like 1988, right around there was a bit of a pivot point because it came out of that like dark comedy or dark like the dark like it was something dark around that time, like Dark Disney or something like that. I forget that because these were all like in chapters and like categorized somewhere between like right around there, like 88, 89, going all the way up to like maybe 2005 was a peak era of this like just like the standards that were created since Walt Disney passed away, like the next wave of creators in their mid to late 30s, where they say, all right, we're in charge now. We know our roots. We got it. We got all this put together. Let's start creating some stuff and let's try this, and this all through collaboration. And I think that's what made it so good, is because you had all of these people who were fans since they were kids, contributing to what they could do to keep that alive. And somewhere along the way, I'm almost certain it's not like that anymore. Where the next generation, like our generation, we're not there to actually maintain it and be that creative people. I don't even think they have the original team from the '90s or up until 2005 there anymore.
Oh no, no, because you can
Something happened.
stuff.
Something definitely happened. It's a shame because it's like if I had kids right now, that's exactly the type of childhood I would want them to kind of pretty much have, where they could be inspired and through the Disney medium, regardless of the corporate nonsense, the creativity and the collaboration, that right there, that inspiration, that music, all that stuff to just like keep you like just fill you up inside and just make you feel alive. That is something I am 100% for. Today,
Mm.
not even close. Like it's just absolutely ridiculous.
It's funny that you say that, because I think right around that 80s and even that 70s time frame, that's right around we had like the Looney Tunes as well, that did that the more graphic, the cartoons that were a little bit more graphic, more had a little edge to it compared to now. And it's crazy because I was just looking at this video today when I was at work and everything, just killing time. I'm still doing my job. Whoever may be listening on the other end.
Yeah, right.
I looked at a video and it said, should we pay $60 for remastered games? I know it's a little off topic from like the shows and the TV shows and the movie, but it makes you scratch your head. Do I really want to pay $60 for a remastered game? I'm like, you guys really just went in the lab and made the same thing, but just updated the graphics. But it lets me know, I'm like, okay, someone must be running out of ideas, or can't really get, like you said, get back to how the golden era was, because it's just like you have your Tarzan, but what can you compare to a Tarzan? What can you compare to a Lilo and Stitch? What can you compare to insert? Even like the Little Mermaid and Pocahontas when it first came out. I remember when it first came out, it was just the buzz was crazy.
Sure.
But nowadays, I can't really think of anything that would compare to it.
You know what it was? It kind of ties into like there was some sort of shift in a problem that I remember somebody saying that I'm unfamiliar with. I hope we have like a real Broadway expert maybe tie into this conversation a little bit more because it was sometime it could have been around like the 2000 and 2000 I think it was before the recession where there was a bit of a shift with the type of music and musicals that were being performed on Broadway. Um, and I only bring them up because this is what I remember being told to by a Broadway guy who said somewhere in the last like 7 years, there has been a shift. Something's weird about Broadway now. There's something missing, and that was from somebody I was taking a class with while I was studying at the neighborhood playhouse. He just kind of brought it up. I didn't think about that until now, because what we actually had when Oliver and Company came out, uh, you had some real Broadway. I'm a musician. This is like what I do. Performers, where it's like they embodied that spirit, and I say spirit loosely. You know, like that. Just like this is what I know. This is I got this role. You know, because
Gotcha.
it was Bette Midler who had such a career in music and going into acting and theater, and then coming into movies with the first like the First Wives Club, great movie. It was the like one of the like I love that movie. Her, Goldie Hawn, and Diane Keaton. Shout out. But she played who was? Oh my God, I don't remember the poodle's name. It wasn't Daphne. Daffy? No, it wasn't Daphne. That was Look Who's Talking To with Diane Keaton. I'm getting them all mixed up. But from Oliver and Company, remember the poodle?
Yes, I do.
That was Bette Midler. She voiced that, but she was also the woman from Hocus Pocus, that actress. Um,
Oh,
that's who Bette Midler is. She is a legit singer. And I think when you actually bring people who are in their element, they know this one thing, they're contributors and able to collaborate. And honestly, I only bring up Oliver and Company because I remember that they actually outperformed, I think, some music categories for even Grammys on how well that whole thing was put together. And I cannot wait until like Disney kind of just makes us like time out, time out. Like you guys are doing great work. I love the live animation stuff and everything that you try to do. You're doing great. But have you considered, and I say this respectfully because I personally would appreciate it, especially with the technology we have, and you did a fine job with Lady and the Tramp. You can do this, but you're not bringing sort of like that music and the soul of what it is you guys are trying to do and and watering your roots. So I have no problem with. I love it regardless. Live action, Oliver and Company, because
mm,
like lest I be mistaken, you don't need Tarzan Disney live action. That could stand on its own 2 feet. You can't recreate what Phil Collins did. But as long as Phil Collins is still alive and Bette Midler is still alive and Elton John is still alive,
yeah.
this is where I think you could actually just get back to basics because you guys are branching out way too far. You're overextended. The entertainment factor, the soul quality, the joy in actually watching a movie, it's just not there right now because I think you're off base and you're trying new things, which I could respect, but you do it more than once. You're not learning your own lesson, and it's just going to keep happening and happening and happening. Fun fact, they lost $96 billion in stock that last year, you know? So you got to really like, other than that, like even as like a potential parent someday, you're just way off base. And I think it's a lesson learned where you actually just once in a while retrace your steps and find out where that mistake was because maybe it's too narrow vision at the time for the time being. You're just only seeing this has to work, this has to work. Hold on, open up, get back to basics and retrace your steps and find out where not necessarily where it was where you got off the path, but you got to listen to people who actually honestly our generation, we grew up watching that. We're more the mate, like the generation of restoration, because
Mm.
like you know what I mean. Because I really do feel like we're like so many different eras, whether it's the '60s, '70s, '80s, '90s, they all had this. they all had this thing that separated them, you know? And it was right around 9/11 where all of a sudden I think shit kind of just went like just kind of culturally and expressively, just kind of like it was hit. It could like the dust still has to settle. I think
Mhm.
where we are now at this appointed time coming up, where you got the 20s part two, or whatever you want to call it, whatever. This is like I think the generation of restoration where we're actually just getting back to basics because I think we've somewhere in the last like I don't know, maybe it's a 15, 20 years, I don't know. We're off base, we're out of alignment, and I think we know that as a society.
Yes, I believe because something you had said that caught my attention when you had brought up the three names Elton John, Collins, and I'm forgetting the young lady's name you had mentioned that
Well, it's
quick.
Bette Midler from Hocus Pocus.
Yep, Midler. I believe when it comes to that, a lot of people want to come into Disney and they were fans of those songs, but a lot of people don't realize the classical training they probably took. I'm sure. Don't quote me on it because I ain't got no reference to really give it to anybody. But a lot of things when it comes to music, I'm sure you know that when it comes to music, it all stems from blues. And it's going to be the first extension will be the classical side of it when you go into your sonata allegro form and your Babbitt squares and even jazz because jazz is its own theory. Because when you said soul, I'm like the first thing I thought of. I'm like they can do this because they made the movie Soul. I don't know if you had a chance to look at it, but
I love
that's when you
that Pixar movie. That was beautiful.
man. 'Cause it lets me know that they have what they need, but it's the people that they can go on with it. Because you had your Hans Zimmer, specifically from the Prince of Egypt, and you know how star-studded that cast was. You,
Hans Zimmer did Prince of Egypt.
he was one of the producers with Prince of Egypt, and
Because
even before,
that is, I'm so glad you brought that up because one of my favorite quotes is that a single thread in the tapestry, though its color brightly shined, it could never see its purpose in the pattern of a grand design. That's
it's
from Prince of Egypt, man.
crazy how it still reflects in the conversation still. Be-
Because it's honestly, I think there were like, I think what makes things so impressionable if it's rooted in truth.
yes, because all good jokes can contain truth, which is why we love our comedians nowadays. Even when it comes to Dave Chappelle, he's controversial, but we all know when we hear Dave Chappelle, we're gonna hear some stuff that might make us uncomfortable. Same thing with Eminem. When people even now I hear people like, oh, why is Eminem talking about this? I'm like, that's just Houdini. Imagine if you heard Eminem when he first came out. He was saying whatever, whenever, and however. But it also
Nope.
comes from the time we're in too.
Who?
It also comes from the time we're in too,
Or the
and
time we're in.
mhm. 'Cause things I'm sure whether it comes from that level of things to even just the musicality. I'm pretty sure the thought process and even preparation and the training is a whole lot different because we have a whole lot of stuff now that we didn't have before. And I'm pretty sure prepping for those things like your Prince of Egypts and your Tarzans and um what have you, I can only imagine how rehearsal was.
Well, I mean, that was Val Kilmer in Prince of Egypt, who played Moses. That was because like I love that movie. That was like it'll always make me cry every time I hear there can be miracles. And that was when Mariah Carey was uh, I definitely well known, but that was in her prime, like in the late '90s, where she was just owned. Like she crushed it. She absolutely crushed it. Between her and Whitney Houston, the '90s belonged to them. Like nobody came close.
Absolutely. But then when you say your Whitney Houston's, your Mariah Carey, you're saying Hans Zimmer, and I'm pretty sure there's a lot more pivotal names that I'm missing. And you once again, just like I was saying, you got how can you reflect Tarzan against what we have nowadays? How can you reflect a cast like that to nowadays? The closest thing to it is the rebranding of the Lion King when they had Childish Gambino, Beyonce, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
But can we confidently say that, and this is no dirt against Beyonce because I know how the fan base is.
I know. I am so with you right now. I know exactly what. Please go on.
Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey, those two alone, even if you had put them against Beyonce, it's hard to really put them in their own category, so to speak. Because if you're gonna even go that far, they're different kind of singers as well. Because you can be like, oh, The Weeknd is better than Beyonce. The Weeknd is probably like a tenor. Beyonce is like probably a good soprano two, maybe soprano one. And even knowing that, you gotta approach things different if it's gonna be like that.
You know what I think it really is, my friend? I think if we're gonna start, and I did I ever tell you about the story how I met Abigail Disney?
No, proceed. Please proceed.
I'll come back. I'll come back to that because I did meet Abigail Disney. I'll come back to that. Um, I think the biggest issue that I'm seeing, because what you were saying before is that like we're kind of just doing things again and seeing if it's sort of like a reboot or a recreation or a new twist on things, which there's I guess it's cool sometimes to an extent. But
Hmm.
I think at one point or another, you see a pattern, and now it's becoming plagiarism.
Yes, that's the
So,
best.
and I got nothing in any way, shape, or form with like Beyonce, and I'm glad you brought up The Lion King because like it was such an original and almost before its time, where it's almost an insult to try to recreate it. And I only say that respectfully because I think when you have the Mona Lisa, you don't try to recreate it and call it the Mona Lisa because it's not the truth. And it's of no like insult to the creators of the idea of it because I thought all in all at the end of the movie like I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun and it had its own unique twists. And uh have you seen the Dreamgirls?
Yes, because my best friends let me go a day without.
So, I mean, like that right there to me, that was more of like an original. It was based on more or less like a true band, a true story. I think, at least I think it was. I don't know if it was Diana Ross and Supremes where they got like maybe the inspiration to do Dreamgirls. But I think if I remember, it's been such a minute, and I didn't even think to talk about it. I haven't seen that movie since it came out in like what 2005 or six, maybe four. Like that's almost 20 years ago. But what I wanted to say is how is it Jennifer Houston who was on American Idol, or
Uh,
she was in
Je-
Dreamgirls as well.
I think it was Jennifer Hudson.
Hudson. Oh, not Houston. I get my names. So like she was the lead in that and absolutely fucking crushed it. But I think the point I'm trying to make is that you have them in their natural like call it a habitat, call it your atmosphere, your environment, whatever. Like this is where you shine the greatest because this is the absolute version of yourself. And you're not recreating anything, you're not impersonating anything, you're not trying to match something. No, you're making it authentic. And I think that's where things become timeless and truthful because that's how we could connect and just without bias. Like we're all unanimously in agreement because you're not trying to do something and call it your own when it was already done before. That to me was like a very natural habitat and movie and the sound, even for Eddie Murphy and Jamie Foxx, because those guys they were on their shit. They did so well in that, and it just seemed so good, and that was just a great story to tell. And I think what I was trying to say before is like we're not sticking to that recipe. We're trying to like plagiarize a little bit, and I say we loosely because I'm a part of it. This is my generation. Like I'm here. My opinion may not matter, but it's just like there's so much originality yet to be exposed because we have a new generation of creators now here alive. You know,
Hmm.
and I think that is being completely overlooked. And I don't understand the point of a reboot.
Me, and you both. Because my thing is, if you're gonna do a reboot, it should be like a tribute. Like, all right, it's been this many years. We're
Thank you
doing
for
this.
saying that. No, thank you so much for actually saying that the way you did, because I think that is 100% the like maybe what then the focus point is actually the goal, a tribute to somebody. That hasn't been quite explained. It seems like it's a recreation and calling it their own. It's not a tribute piece, but please continue. Thank you for saying that.
Oh, absolutely, because it goes back to just like when I was saying the whole thing when I saw a video just flash across my phone today. Would you pay $60 for a remaster game? And it has you thinking. It's just like, well, I played this game back when I was like 10 or whatever the case may be. I'll go ahead and play just for the nostalgia of it. But I would go as far as saying I just throw like $30 for like a remaster game, if that. And if like these reboots, like I said, it should just be more of like a tribute. Hey, it's been 15 years, it's been 30 years, it's been 40 years. This is just a little treat for the audience. But the thing is, when it comes to that, we get lost in the whole aspect of okay, we're just doing this so it's just like a love letter to the audience. It goes from that to like, all right, let's go make money. Because my next point I want to bring up, I don't know how much you're into the anime or whoever who may be listening to as well, but article Hollywood is confused because the anime is getting so much attention and all these movies are flopping. Anime is getting so much attention because of the meaning that goes behind it, and like the artwork that goes into it, the voice acting that goes behind it, everything has so much. You can tell the passion. You can tell someone just sat there in a meeting and it's just like, okay, we're doing this and we're just doing it for the love of it, but it comes off genuine, unique. Just like it goes back to the beginning of our conversation. Everybody wants to see someone who's free and who's passionate about what they're doing, and they don't have no chains holding them back. Their inhibitions are left at the door or at home. We're seeing their full 100% genuine self with no limits. That is probably the peak entertainment right there.
Well, if it's rooted in truth, then it will be.
There you go. Because you ain't got to worry about it being live if you already know it's the truth from the beginning. It's hard to keep up with the line because you keep up with one line. Okay, cool. We got to keep up with it now. There's 2, 3 more. Okay, you got to keep up with them now.
Yeah.
You done lost track, and now we don't know what the story is. It's just hoopla, or like you said, reboot mess in this case.
Forgot who the actor comedian was who actually spoke about like somewhere in the last like 5 or 6 years, it's been reboots, and we're kind of paying for that now, where it was more or less like I can't even begin to even explain why is that, because maybe it was like it was more of a money thing where you had to burn it. You needed to have some losses for a comeback story because you need to give somebody a job or something, because like even the business side of this is like you're dealing with securities and IP and things like that, where it gets very complex. Which kind of, in my opinion, takes the joy out of all of it. And I'm where the hell do I fit in this world now? I guess you're right. You're right. And I forgot what I was gonna say. Damn it. You ever have a bad day where you have like brain loss and like memory loss and stuff?
Man, it happens to me almost every other day. I'm me and this phone get along so well because whenever I'm like, you know what, I feel like I'm gonna forget this. I just throw it right in my notes, and then hopefully I go across it. Or a month later, I'm like, what is this? I'm like, oh, okay, that's the note I wanted to remember a month ago.
Well, two things. Just to kind of tie back before, the actor's name was actually John Cleese, who performed in Monty Python, and I advise everybody look up John Cleese's speech on creativity and what it is. And Bette Midler, she played the role as Georgette the poodle in Oliver and Company. So just I wrote that down, had to tie it back in just so there's a asked and answered. Maybe you could help me with something real quick because I still want to tell you my Disney story, but I got my book right here. I got to share this with you real quick. Hold on one second.
All good, man.
All right. I was not planning on sharing this, but I guess I could tell you a quick story because I'm trying to do some personal development, personal growth. I was given this book before it was published by Clark Bartram, and it was a book on how to just like change your mindset in 30 days. And he has daily challenges. I read it once before, and I could not find this piece of paper for years, and then I found it again. So I just kept it with me for when I was ready to actually open it up and read it. And I remember it had a good impact on my life years ago when I first got my hands on it. But I'm back. I feel like not back at square one, but maybe I got to just retrace my steps, like we were talking before.
Mhm.
So, he had a really good speech in the beginning that, and I'll paraphrase it. I could always read it, but if you want to make a change in your life, all you got to do is change your mind, because if you continue to think as you have always thought, you will continue to do as you have always done. And if you continue to do what you have always done, you will continue to believe what you have always believed. And if you continue to believe in what you have always believed, you will continue to get what you have always gotten. So if you want to get something different, then all you have to do is change your mind. So I think like renewing your mind is really important, but I'm really the other day and yesterday were actually spooky, interesting things where I just started paying attention and writing things down. Day one was about forgiveness, and I had to write a list on things where I had to just reset, renew, prime, reboot, like reboot something, just renew something. Had to get that
Mhm.
out and figure out what is it that's really like bothering me, what's holding me back. There's always some shit, and I knew it, but I never was able to actually write it down. And just now, okay, now that you know these facts, can you forgive? I wrote down some shit where it's going to take me a long time. I know it, because I'm like,
Mhm.
I don't know if it's part of the 30-day process where I have to tie back into this, but it's not a snap of the fingers type of a thing that you got to do, you know?
Mhm.
Day two was really interesting because like I was having a rough day because I had to deal with day one, like really like just reminisce and now apply myself to this book, where day two is more about expanding your social network. And it was just a simple challenge on saying hi to 5 people and just finding out something about them. And it kind of gave me a George Bailey moment where you're actually giving somebody maybe unwanted or unsolicited attention, but you're actually making an impact on somebody's life where you're noticing them. And you never know, there's probably like something going on with them where it's just like they feel invisible. And it really kind of hit me at a certain point because I was having just a horrible day. I really was. Yesterday was a terrible, terrible, no good, rotten, no good, very bad day. And all of a sudden, like while I'm at work, I pull back in, I just dropped off a pizza, and this kid just literally walks past my car with her dad, looks right at me, and she just starts going like this. And it just kind of changed my mood where she noticed me. And I'm just like, hi. And like that kind of just, I only tell you this because it didn't happen just once. Within 5 minutes later, it happened again with a different kid where I feel like I'm like, all right, hi. Then all of a sudden, like I'm waiting for the next delivery, and all of a sudden, kid, other kid, dad, they're out and about, and I'm just kind of minding my own business. I'm in the back, I'm waiting for the rest of the food to come out so I can load it up before I leave. Dad walks up, grabs something, kid follows behind, and then she looks at me. I look at her. I kind of just look away for a second. She just kind of looked at me for an extra split second, and then she waved at me. And I was just, and that's where at that point I literally broke down. Where I'm just like, okay, this is so nice. Like I'm actually being noticed, and I got 2 kids in a row within 5 minutes, just like waving to me. And then I go on this delivery, and I've never been to this one house before. It's deep in like other parts of Chester, but I probably passed this house 1,000 times in my lifetime. And I deliver a pizza to their house. So I pull up, and this is all happening within the span of like maybe 20 minutes. And I think about lesson learned because I kind of just drop my guard. I start thinking about expanding my social network, and I'm on day two right now. There's a shift happening. So I kind of just loosen up and I open up, and my mind kind of gets some mental clarity for a second. And I literally just, it's a normal. Normal routine. I dropped off a pizza maybe 1,000 times in my life. Like I've been doing it since college. I get it. I know what to do. Hi, da 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 da. Pizza. Hello. So like, but this was just a little bit more unique, a little bit different because this was sort of like a back-to-back pattern, and I'd never, ever, ever been to this house before, and I've never like been invited in to like, hey, would you like to come in, meet the wife? I'm like, fuck it, why not? So that's what like I'm skipping a lot of details, but like I pull up, they're cleaning their muskets. They were doing some target shooting, some legit target practice. I see the bean bags. They were like literally setting in their sights. I'm like, well, I'm not threatening, and I'm sure they know exactly what they're doing. So okay, worst case scenario, they know they got guns, and I got a pizza. So all right, what's the worst that could happen? But no, I just like I was just so like finally just like I was chill, where I felt like everything was fine. Met the wife, great lady, Laura. I think her name was Lori. Husband's name was John. Old timers, like our parents' age, things that like stuff, just like homestead, genuinely nice people. Told them that my sister makes gelato. Please, the next time you stop in, go get some on me. But today of all magical days, like I just got back to back today. Today's July the 9th. It's a very rough day for me every year. And I'm on day 3. And it says here that I have to live with a purpose. And now I'm having like, I just can't seem to like really wrap my head around this because the challenge is that every successful company has a mission statement. And of course, with the Astoria Filmmakers Club, yeah, that's easy. I know exactly what that is. But the
Mhm.
challenge is that you got to have a mission statement for you, yourself. What is it? What is your mission statement? And I can't do it. I just can't. I just can't. Like I wrote so many things down where I got to create my own mission statement and just start breaking that pattern on who do I admire the most? Can you write a personal statement of purpose for your heroes? How can that help you write one for yourself? Steve, I'm stuck. I don't know what my purpose is.
I think you're more on track than you believe you are. Because even now, I want to go back to what you were saying to the point where you were saying with the kid saying hello and everything. It's so crazy. I believe this is divine intervention. 'Cause I just finished telling someone today. I said, you know what? I say hi to you all the time. We never get a chance to just sit down and just talk. But I always want to let you know. I always say hi because at the end of the day, you never know who on what someone is going through, and it can always fill their bucket. And it's very crazy that you gave me that story because that's like I said, I'm not making this up. I literally said that today right before I got off work to somebody. And as far as your purpose and you don't know where to go, I think you have your mission statement through a story because when we have your company, that's your baby. And we both can probably share that sentiment. I have my own personal company, Swim Entertainment, but I'm not here to make it a competition. But with your mission statement, yeah, you do have a mission statement for Astoria, but who's the one who made it in the first place? That would be yourself. You have your mission statement going forward, helping yourself, which is nothing wrong with helping yourself. Because I tell people all the time, it's okay to be selfish sometimes because you got to look out for number one. If you don't look out for number one, who's going to be able to? If you can't look out for number one, you can't be able to love yourself. If you can't be able to love yourself, how can you be able to tell your partner how to love you? So, in my personal opinion, you have your mission statement. It's just 118 ways to skin a cat, really. But when it comes to your mission statements and what you're going through and everything, man, take your time because the solutions are just as simple as the problems that come up, and even the most difficult problems have the most simplest solutions. And you're doing the right thing, even when you're going back to what you're saying. It depends on the environment that you're living in completely. So, and when you say that, that's you recognizing that as well, and that could be a mission statement on its own as well. You being able to recognize where you fall short, because who's to say your partner that you're with might not be that could be their strength, and then their strength can be able to you can be like, hey, how are you doing this? that initiates conversation, that initiates that hey. So you go from your hey to like, okay, cool. I want to be able to learn how to do this from so and so. Hey, so and so, I want to be able to do this. And then before you know it, just like we have our conversation, we're going bouncing off each other right now. It could become, okay, I originally wanted to just get a screwdriver, but I didn't know you play pickleball or whatever. Whatever. It's so simple how one conversation can turn your whole day and potentially even your whole life around, really. And it's funny that we say conversation because what were the main two things we've been talking about on the call? Communication and accountability. I know you don't have accountability problems, but your self reflection has been on point. It's just with other people. Some people don't really come with that mindset either. But one thing that I want to share that I had to figure out the hard way, when it comes to people, you can't really make them do what you want to do, like a video game. And when it comes to people, they all come in different shapes and sizes, almost like Baskin Robbins. It's all almost different flavors. You're not going to get the same taste from vanilla that you get from strawberry. Just like it, when you go through your life, it may not be the same. We could go to the same path and do the same thing, but we're going to get different results because we come from different backgrounds and we have different standards, morals, value, what have you. Because just like it's 50 states in the country, it's 50 different ways people are living. But that goes back to the whole 118 different ways to skin a cat. But I want to reassure you right now, you are on the right path. Because just like we were talking about earlier, in life, there's never a moment where you're not learning. And when you keep learning, you will always learn something new and you will always be able to put your best foot forward the next day.
Max. Yeah, probably just got to finish the 30 days and maybe I'll figure it out. Oh, what my biggest problem is on why I don't know my purpose, because to what you were saying before, I know the value of everything I've did in the last couple of years. I really respect the impact that I've had, and it's profound because it was not supposed to be me. Like I didn't have these skills, I didn't have this ability, I didn't. I had my mind and my goals set on my career, like my career. I've always wanted to be an actor. I've always wanted to uh get really good and get better at this. I committed years of study of something I thrived in because I was not a studious kid. I was horrible at school. And it's hard because you find something you're really good at, but for some reason you're overlooked, you're passed on, like so many different things, and you start to doubt yourself and you pivot and you try to figure out what value do I actually have if it doesn't show that I provide real value? What's the point? What's the purpose? And that's where I think I'm really stuck because I'm in a valley right now. I'm sort of like I don't know biblically a story that relates or connects, but it's no, I don't know about it, like what season I'm in, but it's definitely a recovery season. Last 4 years have not been kind, and to say the least, with the AFC, it definitely is keeping me alive. And in some way, shape, or form, I tend to be thriving in some way, shape, or form. I had no idea the significance of the impact that I was going to have until friggin' New York State Assembly gave me an award for doing it. I I respect the hustle that everybody does with the Triborough Film Festival, and you got some game day players who could really create. Like they know exactly what they're doing. I don't know if you watched any of the films, but man, like
Oh yeah.
these guys, they're not stupid in any way, shape, or form. They're not, like, their writing is excellent. And I'm in a position where I provide them a space where people could see their work. And that's
Okay.
tough. That's really tough. And that's an enormous responsibility because it's my call and my taste and my experience and my knowledge really, it really impacts, especially with a review
Yeah.
on the whole thing. And that's really hard. And I don't give bad reviews. I give them strategic and articulate reviews on had this improved, then maybe this would have actually made that point a lot more clear. And it's hard enough to even write a script, let alone take one, take two, take three, take four, take five. Not to mention just to do that once, but to do that multiple times. So I respect the process completely. But now I'm in a position of like this. I'm the man. I'm the man at the high. Like I'm at the head of the table here.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I don't like I never would have in a million years ever guessed like I set a personal standard that I expect these people to measure up and provide them that feedback. I got invited, I don't know if you saw, to a Queen's panel uh discussion on film festivals where you got some really good film festivals in Queens. And I kept in touch with pretty much all of those guys where you got like seven or eight real film festivals in Queens, and I'm sitting at the I'm sitting at that table, and like we're going back and forth at the Zucker Theater, and we got 2 hours of just honest discussions on certain things. And of course, I'm nervous as shit. I don't know what I'm gonna say. I'm just answering and just like talking. And of course, there was some depth to what I said when I said it, and I could go into more depth in conversations like this and behind the scenes. But these guys, even recently, they're submitting to my festival too, our festival now, and I'm giving them a review and I'm articulating, and they're asking me, Phil, I would love your opinion before I submit. Please tell me, like, am I doing the right thing? I'm in that position where what I say actually, like, like, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, this isn't my background. I was a theater. I'm not even a theater kid. I fell into this, and now I'm a guy. Uh, now I'm the dude. I'm the guy that people want to know or you need to know in order to make it in this business. What the hell? I feel like a fraud. You know, I really do. I feel like a fraud that I don't belong here. This is not me. I don't deserve this position.
Hmm. Why do you feel why you feel like you don't deserve the position? Because honestly, you've been doing a lot of amazing things, and even when you were going through your spiel and telling me the achievements and everything, you've been doing really well for yourself, and better than what most people would be doing in your position. Because I've known many artists, talented, many other visual arts, what have you, majors that say, oh, I'm going to be doing this. I want to do this by the time I'm 28, 30. And they're just still playing at Applebee's. And I wish I would, it was more of a, what's the word I'm looking for? Exaggeration. But I kind of just went this past weekend to Virginia and had one of my big brothers he's made 15 albums and he's performing at Applebee's for $75. You are in an amazing position because you have an eye and people trust you with that eye. And honestly, I want to tell you this: comparison is a thief of joy. And you deserve every bit of joy that comes to you because you've been working your behind off. And I can tell it while we were working together. I can tell it right now because a lot of people will be in your spot like, okay, I got my award. I don't need to be doing anything else. A lot of people won't even be on this podcast speaking with me right now or reaching out to me like you've been doing. You are grinding, my man, and you're putting the work. You putting the work in. I think you have your mission statement. It's just putting a name to it, if that makes sense.
Maybe. Well, if anybody listening out there, probably be released on in about 3 or 4 days, so probably on the 13th or the 14th. If if you could help me out and write down a purpose, because I don't know what my purpose is. I know I'm glad you brought up joy because community, creativity, and joy, that's our ethos, that's our motto. Those are the three pillars of the AFC right there. Community, creativity, and joy. And you're not wrong. Comparison is the thief of joy. Never thought of it that way. But you know what I really, whom I'm comparing myself to? The version of myself I am today. How It's a curious thing. How come I wasn't this guy maybe 10 years ago? Like, what did I have to go through to actually learn lessons to become this guy, what experience, like what real experience and education did I need to learn, regardless of your losses and your wins, your accomplishments? So what lessons like really did I have to learn to be called Mr. President, you know? Not like on my business card, it was always Phil Cappadora, actor. My business card says president now.
And I think that's a blessing, man. In all honesty, because when it comes to how did I get here or why didn't I get here in 10 years? Well, you got a couple nicks and scars that came with it the 10 years, and with those nicks and scars, you can be like, oh, I got this because of so and so, and you wouldn't know you wouldn't have known that in all transparency 10 years ago. Yeah, it's just the path that God has forged you on. He had placed you on, and you followed that yellow brick road, man, and it made you who you are today. Because when it comes to people, even the people that I associate with myself around with, I tell people all the time, when you're going through this thing, this artistry, entrepreneur, music career, whatever that you're going through, we are, like I said before, we know it's cutthroat. But for someone to go right after high school, right after college, right into the mainstream industry, like for example, your Kobe's, your LeBrons, those are like one of a kind. Not to say that you're not one of a kind, but when it comes to that kind of situation, you kind of had to go through some stuff to explain some stuff, if that makes sense. Just like when you go to church and you see the pastor, he's mainly one of the head of the church, mainly the person that's been a little bit more seasoned veteran in the world, who can tell you you don't need to be doing this because X, Y, and Z. Some churches are good, some churches are because he knows the Bible too. We both know that. But when it comes to experience, they can be able to preach about it because they've been through it or they've seen someone go through it, whether it's being a self-learner through yourself, or being a vicarious learner. And you see someone slip on some ice in front of you, you ain't gonna walk through the same path.
Not if you want to push your luck and be like, nah, I know this guy. He was meant to fall. I'm not going to fall. Watch this.
Exactly.
But no, to your point, like it's wise to what's that expression where it's wise to learn from the lessons that others did or something like that. There's a real expression. I forget what it is. Like it's wise to learn from the lessons of others, something like that. I can't remember the expression. Holy cow. Man, rough day. I did jujitsu earlier and I had mental clarity, but now I just kind of feel like not concussed, but I definitely feel like I had a workout and like my arms definitely look like they've been half broken.
That's all good, man. I got you up here at 10 o'clock too, man. I'm pretty sure you had been through your day. Man, you had your nice little workout and we had a nice little talk going. We got a nice little talk going. I'm pretty sure, mentally, physically.
Yeah, man, honestly, like if we had this conversation at 11 o'clock in the morning, I don't think it would be half as interesting, not as open and me ready. Because in the mornings, I'm not good in the mornings. I take a minute.
Me and you both, man. I'm a night owl. I'm a huge night owl. I don't know if it's a Florida thing, but
Welcome to Happy Corner. This project strives to make safe housing areas for stray cats at an affordable price. It's so easy to put together that even your children could have fun making one. Help keep cats and other animals safe with their own little Happy Corner homes. You can help this project become a reality by donating to the GoFundMe page. Happy Corner homes are a great way to show those animals in need it's okay to be happy.
I honestly, like I take it all in, and I feel like I've been avoiding responsibility the last couple weeks through with the AFC and the Triborough, minorly. Like I'm just putting it off to the side where it's like I know myself. I'm just not ready to handle it right now. A little bit of procrastination, without a doubt, because I could feel that there's a list piling up, and there's an execution thing that I'm just not firing right now, and I think what I was trying to say before, and even with the purpose, where it's just like I'm having a hard time seeing the point. Like I when I get out of my head and I kind of just stop looking at like focusing or dwelling on the things that I'm going through or the lessons I cannot learn or I don't know how to accept like anything at the moment. I'm really neglecting right now, and I could tell that a single thread in the tapestry, though its color brightly shined. It could never see its purpose in the pattern of the grand design. And the stone that sits on the very top of the mountain's mighty face, does it think it's more important than the stones that form the base? So, how could you see what your life is worth or where your value lies in how much you gave or how much he gained? The answer will come to him who tries to look at your life through heaven's eyes. So that's Prince of Egypt. And
Like,
I think that's where I'm getting a real false perception of myself because I can't see my life through heaven's eyes. That's my biggest problem right now. And I think that's where a lot of people maybe get stuck is that you're only seeing maybe things through your own perspective, which is normal because that's the only thing you've ever known up until that point. And on a previous podcast, I was kind of talking about the Never Ending Story movie, where if you could actually read somebody else's story, there is somebody reading your story right now. Call him an angel, call him a demon, call him an alien, call him another person, but you're a character in somebody else's story equally as you are a character in your own story with the perception of being able to read and navigate your way through other people's stories. And you just don't really see yourself in that story. And it's just a curious thing. And that's where I know I'm stuck because not in a cul-de-sac or a charter in a sense where I'm actually creating a path, like going into untapped territory, like scaling a mountain and actually leaving stairs along the way, or dropping down trees in front of me so other people don't have to go around it. Like I'm literally, I feel it and I know it and I sense it and I get tired that I'm really blazing a trail for others to follow behind and figuring out ways on like avoid this, do not go here, leaving up signs. And I that's where I think I'm stuck is like, why am I doing this? Like why do I care this much? What's the point?
we all want that legacy, man. We all want to be able to leave behind a solid legacy. Because just like we talking about with the chaps, man, we all want to have bring kids in the world, be able to show them, hey, this is what it's for. This is what I'm doing it for. This is what I'm doing, and I'm doing it for you. Once you hit 18, check your account because this legacy scholarship from your dad is gonna be coming from you. That's what it's for. And then, like you said, you're trailblazing the path for the people behind you. Do you know how many people are doing that? You know how many people that have the opportunity to do that are not doing that? Hence, the whole conversation about to go back to reboot very briefly. Who's to say that those producers aren't putting some money to the side as a tax write-off? That's another thing. Because you know how money's the root of all evil. No, I'm sorry. Biblically, it says the love of money is the root. Yeah.
Yeah, God, you can't have two masters. You either hate one or love the other.
And then as far as everything else, man, I'll tell you this, and because it may help you, it may help those who listen. During my troubling times this past year, I got a chance to know me better, whether it's through ancestry or just talking with my aunt, because my aunt is actually through another family, but that's a story for another day. Found out when it comes to that family, my biological family, we got 4 things that run in our family: bipolar, schizophrenia, anxiety, and depression. Now, the first time I'm hearing that, I'm like, holy crap, I got bipolar and schizophrenia in my family. But the way I see it, it can only be as effective as I let it, because if I'm over here worrying, stressing about things I can't control, because there's going to be some things in life that we just cannot control. And my advice on that comes from my mother, who a 2-time breast cancer survivor. And she said,
God bless her.
and she said this while she had breast cancer: some things in life you just accept and move on. And once we can do that, bro, you'd be surprised how much lighter that load on your back will get. And even with anxiety, I tell people this all the time, man. I've been putting in experiments in it recently. I've been seeing the fruits of my labor. When it comes to anxiety, the best solution for anxiety is action. Because I'm always that what if, that overthinker. For those who are into astrology, I am a Virgo. So overthinking is just
You're the second person to tell me that today. I'm like, that's great. What does it mean? We don't know. We just know it's what we are.
exactly. So when I say anxiety is an action, oh man, I don't know what she's thinking. Go ahead and text her. Oh man, I don't know if my boss got this. Go ahead and email him to see if he found out. If he's bothered about, hey, just you have your reason and you tell him the reason and you stand on it. With depression, yeah, I get things can be sad. Sometimes always have an outlet of 2 or 3 people you can talk to, whether it be me, whether it be your partner, whether it be mom, dad, whoever the case may be. Always have someone to talk to and always be available, because depression could be easily solved with you just being like the kids were doing, just saying hey to somebody. You'd be surprised how a smile will make your day. Watching someone smile.
That really changed my mood. Like, and I knew I was in a funk. I was having a rough day yesterday. That was really sweet. And I'm like, that was so angelic of these kids. And it's just like I got 2 random. I don't get like I don't get waved at like that in the last year. It's just like, and it was just today of all magical days. That's what these 2 kids did, and just really cleared the air. You know?
Hey man, like I said, the most difficult problems had the most simplest solutions, and that solution was
Hi.
I didn't even say anything.
Oh, then that's all it takes. Just kind of like, you're right. Hi. It is a beautiful day. Hot, but it's beautiful. You know, I I want to wrap things up, but I guess I could tell you that Disney story at another time, because we're going on almost about buck 40, going on 2 hours. That's a good conversation. Um, I think.
Oh, I can always bug you another day.
Oh, definitely. I would love to hear more about well, what your goals are. Last time I think I saw you doing something. You were doing some, I don't know if it was audition workshops or anything like that. How'd those go?
That was the Barbizon audition workshops and everything. I just recently put out one of my latest original songs called Mystery Woman Part 2. I put it on SoundCloud, only on SoundCloud for now. I have 2 unpublished songs that I have in the works. The only thing I need to do is get it mixed and mastered, and then I'm gonna shoot it out there. Not probably, I will. We look out some other people and get the cover art and get the lyric video and just have a formula go like that. And so every week I know I'm gonna have at least 1 or 2 songs a week, whether it be original or cover songs. Because I recently did Nat King Cole's "When I Fall in Love" cover
All
and
right.
Mary the CeeLo Green version.
If anybody wants to, get in touch with you or hear more about you, what's your social handles or website?
Sure. My Instagram is just scUba. That's JUS_SCUBA. With my TikTok, that's Scuba De La 904. That's SCUBA DELA 904. What's the other one that I mainly use? Facebook. Facebook is Stephen M. Hall, and then my page Steve, or you can just look up scUba. That's SCUBA. The reason behind that is because I always want to remind myself and the audience that it's a capital U, which means it's always about you. And I put myself second, which is why the rest of the name is lowercase. Big U, little me.
Well, is there a story behind Scuba? Like Scuba Steve or something?
Yes, actually. It's fun.
Yo. All right, tell me, what's up? What's Scuba Steve?
Because I was like, you know what? At the time, I was doing poetry when I was in sophomore, maybe junior in college. I'll go every Tuesday night to the train station in Newport News, Virginia, and I started doing poetry. I was like, you know what? I'm actually enjoying this. And just like any normal hip hop head, they start out with poetry and then it just went to the songwriting from there. But one of the poems I did, I can't remember the name, but I know it's on my Wattpad somewhere. The MC of the open mic was like, "Hey man, you kind of just dove into that, kind of like a scuba diver." I said, "Scuba diver." I say that's it right there. I was looking for the name. I said that has like a nice little genuine story I can always bring up. But that's when I had got a hook, line, and sinker. I was like, you know what, scuba, yeah. And then like you said, Scuba Steve. I said the best thing that people can remember my name by is Scuba Steve, because who doesn't remember Scuba Steve the movie Wolf. I think it was what Will Ferrell.
No, you're thinking of Big Daddy, my friend.
Daddy, Big Daddy.
Yeah.
Wow, I
Yeah,
lose my head shoulders.
like Adam Sandler even actually came up with that on the fly, like when he was creating Big Daddy. I think his inspiration for Scuba Steve was Ranger Rick, a toy that he grew up with, or something like that.
They love alliterations back in the day. I will say that.
But that's what I mean, like that authenticity, that originality. That's what actually really sticks with us, and just makes it great and makes it timeless because it was that good. And it was honestly, it was rooted in truth. That was the point of it.
There you go. And that's why I was like, you know what? This sounds genuine. This sounds cool. People are gonna fuck with it and the story and everything. And then the whole explanation I said at first was more of like to keep me on grounded because I don't. The thing I'm afraid of is when I make it eventually, is me getting my heads in the clouds and or just put my nose to the sky and you're like, no, I'm just the best thing since sliced bread. I don't want that. I want to be able to, like yourself, be a trailblazer for those behind me because one of the other goals that I got going along to my dream goal is to start up an academy of performing artists and have
Okay.
it be where I can be teach kids from grade school to college and straight to the mainstream industry if I can help it. Actually, no, when I can help it.
That's ambitious, man.
Big dreams, man. It's big, but I know I can make it happen. I just put my faith in the man upstairs. It sounds simple, but
You're gonna get experience, bro. You're gonna go through it.
and that's when I was going through it. I was like, you know what? Every big name, whatever, Eminem, Outkast, was Jay-Z. All those people have a story, and everyone's story is not even it's not always squeaky clean. Hence, um, Robert Downey Jr., Tim Allen.
Yeah.
Then it goes back to a point where we were talking about earlier. When you're going through shit, and then you finally make it to that peak that you've been looking for however many years it may be.
Yeah.
You either come out fragile or you come out with nerves of skin, nerves of steel and thick skin. Because at the end of the day, how can iron sharpen iron if you don't come with that iron durability, that iron mental state? You have to.
Comes back to Rafiki. You either run from it or you learn from it, and next thing you know, 10 minutes later in the movie anyway, King's on Pride Rock.
And my friend, I know you're in good shape. I'm sure you're a runner, but in this case, you're not a runner. I know I've been saying a lot of profound things, but I like to keep the profound things short because you keep it short, it gets right to the point, I'll try to convey my emotion to a point where people can be able to be like, understand, hey, it's genuine, and you can be able to do something with it because it's always the low hanging fruit they'll be the juiciest, not the highest.
That kind of hit me for a second there. I'm not a runner. You're not wrong. I do. I stand my ground.
Hey man,
I do.
don't sell yourself short, man.
I'm not for sale.
There we go. There you are.
Yeah, man. No, this was actually a really nice conversation. I'm glad we acted just, I think this is the first time in a long time we just had just a one-on-one.
Oh yeah, 'cause I know every now and then I'll throw you a couple of TikToks.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I like it when you share shit with me. Like, I see something like maybe Steve will like this. Let me send it to him.
Like I said earlier in our little conversation, I always acknowledge any message, even if it's just okay, great, go to hell. My mom has embedded that in me so deep in me, and you don't understand how it bothers me. Like I'm just saying this. I just want a yes or no, and someone just said, "No, I'm the type of person you always get something from me."
Facts. I know we like time is short, and I definitely want to wrap things up. And I wasn't going to tell you this story, but I figured, I brought it up. I don't want to leave a loose end or something for next time. Why don't I tell you really quick how I met Abigail Disney?
Nice.
All right, yeah, I don't want to leave that hanging or anybody else out there. I think I only told this to Shalom. Shalom is a writer, filmmaker, actor here in the AFC. We met several times. Really cool dude, smart guy. Uh, I met Abigail Disney, I think maybe 3 months ago. Let's just say 3 months ago. I first learned about Abigail Disney on Instagram when I got this random Disney, uh, like, I think it was some sort of like marketing thing where it just kind of pops up. And she had made a movie called American Dreams and Other Fairy Tales. I didn't know her at the time or know anything about it at the time, but it got my attention where a documentary came out on what it's like to be an employee at Disney. And when I first started this journey, becoming an actor, that was the place I wanted to work. Went to community college and we went down to Disney for a class field trip. It was part of the business club. And of course, I was a Disney kid my whole life. Of course, I want to know about the world. And of course, business is business. There's an operation behind the scenes that you don't see. So I was really attracted to that in business. And fast forward, now the documentary came out, I think, loosely right around after the pandemic, now that we have a permanent impression in our history of when the pandemic was. So it came out around that time. But Abigail Disney is actually the great niece of Walt Disney himself. Um, and it's just, yeah. And I'm like, oh shit. Like, I didn't know that the Disney kids or the Disney family are still, you don't hear about them, like you just don't. They're not like really in the mix. Like, that Walt Disney and his brother started like Web. They started Walt Disney, and Disney Plus came out after Netflix let go of all the Disney stuff and they started doing their own thing, and they brought back all the archives and all the original stuff and the documentaries. You know what I mean? Like, so like I'm a big fan of Disney Plus. I like it, or I liked it up until last year. Then I'm like, great, all right. I mean, well, that's neither here nor there. It's like it's unfortunate, but it's like, oh shit, maybe one day I'll become the CEO of Disney and I'll get this shit back on course. We
Yeah,
had
you will.
already. I would probably own that shit. Just like universe God, if you want me to be the president of Walt Disney Incorporation and get us back on track, I accept. Anyway, so Abigail Disney, great niece of Walt Disney, through the brother and his granddaughter is Abigail. And I wanted to always watch this documentary, but I never just in the past year, like shit catches up, you just never get around to it. And I could have bought it on Amazon Prime, but I knew I did not like, I wasn't ready to watch it. I'm not ready to sit down and just like watch it.
Mhm.
So a few months ago, even last year, I reached out to her and her team that I would love to have her on the podcast. And they said, we'll let you know. And of course, they seemed interested. But Abigail, of course, is very busy. And now I know why, because of this documentary. So what ended up happening was a few months ago, it was available for the Albany Film Festival at Albany University. And I guess it was just like a special appearance where they want to just show it at the festival. It's already out on streaming and things like that. And it's like you don't go in the festivals after you already got to that point. But she was on like she was gonna now talk about it and like make a guest appearance. And I'm like, what am I doing that day? Oh, I got work at 4 o'clock. What time is the screening? 11 o'clock. Where is it? Albany. How far is that? 2 hours. So I woke up early and I drove all the way from Orange County up to Albany. And I get there on time. And like I had nothing premeditated. I knew I just wanted to like go. I wanted to potentially meet her and be like, "Hey, wait a minute. I'm a president. I run a film festival. Like this is kind of my natural habitat. I should just be myself."
There you go.
So what ended up happening was like there's a like Jesus Christ, I'm telling this story. Um I get up there, I sit down. It's a nice theater in Albany University, home of the Great Danes. It was a little nostalgic to go to that campus for the first time because I really wanted to play football there when I was younger, like if you can imagine, almost 20 years ago. And like it hit like how like my life and my journey. Like I'm coming back to where I was in 2006. And it's just, like I felt that like kind of going in. It was a little not so much a distraction, but it's like it's all right, you're on your path. You're like everything is tied together. So the documentary opens up around 11 a.m. It wraps up like after afternoon before 1 o'clock, and there's a panel discussion where it's one-on-one with one of the professors, and Abigail Disney is there, like Mrs. Disney. She's there. Dr. Disney, she's a doctor. She has a doctorate. Um, so I'm like, all right, she's established. She's like maybe I don't know how old exactly she may be, but she's my parents' generation. She's of that generation. Like, just a little bit younger than my dad maybe. So I just I listened to everything she said, and it was a great documentary about the employees at Disney and how this is just absolute horseshit. Where day one, when Disney started, like the company was in its like peak. You could work at Disney, you can make a life. You can't even you got to sleep in your fucking car in the state of Florida if you're gonna work at Disney.
Yeah.
Don't even get me started how disappointed I am on Disney World and their food. Don't even get like I won't even go there. I'm paying $100 to get in and I got to eat this shit. Fuck you. No offense, but seriously, it's like you realize we get 50,000 people a day. I get it. You got to give us prison food, but don't make it obvious. Anyway, like so the panel discussion's over. I'm like, there's about 150, 200 people in the room. Like it was a very well packed house and people were asking questions and I'm like, all right, let's just let's get out of here. It's okay. And as I left the auditorium and like I just kind of felt like this like sort of like this tug, where it's just like,
Don't leave this.
yeah, like wait, you're actually gonna leave? And I actually feel like like how in In-N-Out there's people in your head kind of controlling all the knobs and shit.
Yep, yep, yep.
So thank you, Ducky. I'm having one of those moments right now.
Yes, I love when you get these references.
It's not getting past me, bro. I'm telling you. You're in my world now. So like I literally felt that little switch or that turn of the knob being like, you sure you want to leave? And Joy is literally talking into my head, or maybe even like fear or whatever. I didn't see In-N-Out too, but like I literally felt that in my head. And it popped into my head too. It was weird. They made their presence known. So like I kind of just I talked to like a couple of the film festival curators, thanking them. I met the president. I think his name was Phil too. That was weird. Um, and it's just like, yeah, I thought maybe I would introduce myself to Abigail and just let her know that I exist and what I do with the Story Filmmakers Club, the Triborough Film Festival, and all that stuff. He's like, well, go ahead, you should introduce yourself. And I'm like, okay, like inside my head. So it's like, all right, I walk back towards the theater and I don't know what I'm going to say. I don't know what I'm going to do. I'm trying to premeditate what I'm going to say, and I can't think of anything interesting other than, all right, just be yourself. That's the only thing that could pop into my head.
Hmm.
But here's the problem with that. The second I decided that, okay, just be yourself, that's when she walked right through the door and I didn't even recognize her right away. I'm like, oh shit. And she's about to walk right past me, like, Abigail? And she looks right at me. I'm like, hi, how do you do? My name is Phil Cappadora. Spoke with a couple members of your team about having you on your podcast. I run the Triborough Film Festival, and I literally drove, just a couple hours all the way up here to Albany just to let you know that I exist with a smile on my face. And so what ended up happening right then, there after that, I didn't freeze or anything, but there was kind of like a pause. And she's like, great, nice to meet you. Great, nice to meet you too. And that's where the other director's just like, let's just walk away from this guy. And then she walks away. And I'm like, the people in my head are literally going like this.
Oh, I know that.
Exactly.
I
And
know
I'm
the
like,
feeling.
and I
Yeah.
and I literally just kind of like, did I actually just say that? Yeah, way to be yourself, man. Oh, fucking hell. And that's where I just like literally like I don't know who just turned off the lights upstairs, but it's just like, ugh. Now I knew I had to leave. So I
Mm,
I literally like I just start like I can't even see like where she possibly could have went. You know, it's like it's a decent. I like those blinders came right back on. I didn't see shit, and I was not embarrassed, but I just felt like, yeah, that just happened. So I go to leave, and I'm like, you know what? You got a 2 hour drive, man. And I'm like, all right, I got work at 4. It's closer to 2. It's gonna take about 2 hours to get back. Let me get a quick cup of coffee. So right before I leave, there's a Starbucks there in the assembly hall and whatnot.
Okay.
And I just got the app, so I thought, okay, let me try to like cash in and use up some points. But the app didn't have that Starbucks registered on the app, so I just had to go right to the counter. And that took
Mm,
a couple of minutes to figure that out. And I'm like, this is starting to suck. No points, nothing, just buy the coffee. I get the same thing every time. So I get in line. There's only like one person ahead of us. And I'm just like, all right, just gonna wait my turn. And then all of a sudden, somebody stands right next to me.
uh-oh.
Abigail Disney gets in line after like 5 minutes, right next to me. And I just look to my right, and she's kind of just looking up and be like, good. I hope she forgot about me by now too, because I certainly did.
She did the movie thing.
And it's just like the guy, I can't remember his name. So this is where all of a sudden the lights came back on in my head, but nobody actually said anything on what to say. The lights just came back on. So I just really quick, I just turned to her and I just asked her honestly, so what's your favorite Disney movie?
That's a
And
good
just
one.
like, I was just it was at that point, schmuck to sensation, finally just be yourself. And that's exactly all of a sudden we went from like I was just like 5 minutes ago, I was so embarrassed, and then I actually have a real conversation with Abigail Disney for like it could have been 1 minute long. It wasn't. It was like 5 minutes long. We're just standing in line. We're just having a conversation. So I asked her what her favorite movie was or from Disney, and I that's for me to know and everybody out there to find out.
Uh-oh.
I'll take that one to the grave with me under penalty of death. I will not share that secret. That's hers. That's hers, and my moment. I'm keeping that. But I even like what we were talking about before with plagiarism and thing. We even had that conversation. She's like, "Yes, Phil gets it," and I'm like, "Oh shit!" And we just had like just a nice introduction, and we shook hands at the end. I offered to buy her like dragon fruit tea thing that she likes. She didn't want coffee, just wanted one of those like dragon fruit tea red things.
A little bubble, whatever.
With a
They
little, I don't know, whatever Starbucks does. I buy coffee, I get the same thing. I don't know. I don't care what's on the menu. I just want that one thing. I'm good. I am so consistent and consecutive. That's it. But it's just like, and I just drove home, just kind of or I just now to go to work. I drove another 2 hours just to come back south. And it was not for nothing. I learned a lot from the documentary, and like I had that moment of like just talk. And I was so nervous when we first met, but then just to have that heart to heart standing in line at Starbucks where you get a redemption moment, it's like, man, did I take advantage of that or just ask the question, And I was genuinely curious. I wanted to know. She asked me what mine was, and I told her honestly that, I don't have a favorite Disney movie, and I'll like people could quote me on this forever. I don't have a genuine like this is my favorite Disney movie. I don't. I care about them all equally. But there is only one song that just speaks to my heart more than anything. Out of every single Disney song that I've ever learned, there's only one song that actually stands out the way Feed the Birds stood out for Walt Disney. And my song is Candle on the Water from the original Pete's Dragon.
Oh my goodness.
You know that one?
Oh man, you're gonna make me go back and listen to that one.
It hits you. It really hits you. I encourage everybody to listen to that one because it's so beautiful. That song, Mickey Rooney was in that movie. Love that actor. But no, that one just that could change my mood, change my day on a dime. That's by far my favorite song. It's so hard for me. Like, you know why? Like, honestly, I've always knew the song and I could quote it, but every single time I tap into it, I lock up. My heart closes off. I can't even breathe. I can't even relax. I just like even sing along with it because I downpour. I just like I don't know what it is. It just I try not to talk about it or even touch it anymore. I just that's that one song that just I can't like it's just it's that good.
Man, Candle on the Water by Peachtree. I'm gonna look that up. I'm gonna tell you that right now. And
Peach Dragon, the original Peach Dragon.
don't let me find it on TikTok. You're gonna get it. You know that, right?
Bro, like I know, like if you find it, like I might look it up before I wrap this before I go to bed. But uh I know it's going on 2 hours now. This was such a good conversation. I'm so glad we got to talk. And I gotta just say, yo, Scuba Steve, Steve Hall, Steve M. Hall, bro, like you truly are. You're a real one, bro. And I'm so glad, you were there when I needed you last year. I'm so glad you came onto the show. Is there anything that maybe you're working on that you want people to know or check out?
Um, just improving my myself on my business and establishing the legal team from there. As I mentioned before, I got two unpublished works. I just need to get them worked mixed and mastered. One is called "Write You a Song." That's more on a little lover boy love song, and one is called "Tsunami." I was like, you know what? I can't call myself Scuba and not have a water theme song. I was like, you know what? That'll be it. So those are the two ones to look out for. I say stay on the lookout for more stuff coming soon. I live stream Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 p.m. on TikTok. I do it for about an hour, but other than that, it's just maintaining and get that legal team together, man. And oh, another good note. I wanted to add this before I forget. A gallon of water each day. Advanced multivitamins. You can get them from Walgreens or what's the other one? No, it's Walgreens. It has like 26 different vitamins in it. You'd be surprised what vitamin B12 and vitamin D would do for you.
Oh, I know it.
Because that helped me out in my little spell as well. And it's not just for the two of us either. This is for whomever is listening as well. And like I said, action and saying hi.
Action at 10 high.
For that anxiety and depression, man. For whoever might be listening, whoever might just be down in the dumps, man. I'm a firm believer you never know what anyone else may be going through or their situation. And if I can help whomever, even if it's just one person under the sound of my voice, hey, I'm gonna do it, man. Because I would want someone to do that for me, you know? And just giving back how I would want to, take it. But back to your question, that's the main things I'm working on for right now.
Well, in that case, thank you so much for coming on the AFC podcast, ladies and gentlemen. This has been Stephen Hall. It's been real. Thank you so much for listening. Definitely got to say thank you to our sponsors, to the Mid-Hudson Valley Federal Credit Union. They are the bank of the Astoria Filmmakers Club. They've done so much for the AFC. I can't thank them enough. Thank you to Happy Corner for all of your financial support. But before I go, Stephen Hall, I always wrap up the show with this one final segment, and it's called "The Right Words at the Right Time." In my early days, I was reading this book, a great book called "The Right Words at the Right Time" by Marlo Thomas, and it was a collective of letters and interviews of very well-known household names, whether they're celebrities, movie stars, politicians, athletes, real names that you would know today. Shaquille O'Neal just being an example. Great letter that guy wrote too. His mom did him a huge service by giving him the right words at the right time. And I remember most of the book. Got to reread it. But what I'd like to know, uh, has anybody ever given you, Stephen, the right words at the right time that have always stuck with you, that have always carried you through for better or worse? Or are there any words of your own that you would like to share to others?
Oh, I said a lot of profound things in this interview, but the main thing, and I will never forget this to this day. Back when my step grandfather was on when he was alive, I believe I was 7, maybe 8. He told me this. He said, "Whatever you want to do in this world, you can do anything in this world as long as you put your mind to it." And then he followed up and gave me Philippians 4:13. Man, like I said, something so simple has solved so many problems. And just to for reference, Philippians 4:13, you could do anything through Christ that strengthens you. And man, like I said, I'm gonna beat this horse even till it's dead. The most difficult problems get solved with the most simplest solutions. So I'll leave it off with those 2.5 sayings.
Steve, there's no bad answer. Those are the right words at the right time for you, and I hope they ring true for somebody else listening out there. And to say once again, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. But when it comes to bipolar and schizophrenia, like once you come into an agreement with that spirit, you're actually giving the devil a foothold or a stronghold or a way to get in. Because as long as you come into agreement with that, that's all he needs. But the truth of the matter is, with bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, those are brain disorders. But that's a developmental disease. It has to start somewhere. And a lot of that actually comes from an infection in the blood. That's the first thing. As well as traumatic brain injury, when the brain just misfires and you can't comprehend. Blood functionality and traumatic brain injury, you can develop those symptoms, but it may not, it might be a complete and total Trojan horse. It's got nothing to do with like legit schizophrenia or bipolar disorder. That could actually have been caused by an infection that is showing the symptoms of those things. And that's where it could actually be a complete camouflage. So don't come into agreement with anything until you know the absolute truth of what's going on with an infection in the blood or traumatic brain injury, because that's where it stems from. You can find that out with an EEG test.
Okay. No, I definitely appreciate I always appreciate free advice. Man,
that comes from experience. Like I thought I was crazy when I was hearing music in my fucking head, and then 3 years later, I composed my first song.
That goes because I know most producers are like that too, where they hear music in their head, like you said, or they see sounds.
Yes, like that's just some weird shit. No, like that is like legit brain disorder, possibly. But then again, it might be a spiritual thing or a blood infection. You don't know.
Man, I get it. As far as the whole hearing sounds, music in your head and seeing sound, I get it because the groove is real too. The groove is absolutely real. So anything in regards to that, in regards to music or anything on the arts, when I hear people saying those profound things, I believe it. No, I wholeheartedly believe it, especially the groove. Because once you're in it, it's hard to get out of it. That's a good thing, though.
The creative flow.
Bingo. Just like soul.
Yeah, you got the Emperor's New Groove, you got the groove, you got the flow, and now it's time to go.
I see what you did there.
Oh, this is great. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I want to say thank you to all of you listening. Be sure to like and subscribe, leave a rating and review. Steve, you are a true blessing. I can't wait to work with you finally on Clark Is, because that has been speaking on my heart for the last 30 days, and I've been avoiding that like the plague. But I think it's time to pick that up and try to like produce our next AFC podcast play, Clark Is, because it is ready to go.
I'm your man, 100 grand, man. Anytime.
Thank you all for listening. Steve, wherever you go and all that you do, always remember to never forget community, creativity, and joy.
Thanks, man. You take care, brother.
Brother. All my best. Talk to you soon.
Take care.
Ciao.